Good afternoon, everybody. It's me, the media guy, back with another fantastic movie review. Today, I'm gonna be doing a second look, aka revisit edition of Scooby-Doo and Arabian Nights. Now, as usual, you guys probably seen my original review of this movie and know what to expect from this movie. But as usual, if you guys wanted a little recap, here it is. Well, and there's a description on the back of the VHS tape. Join Scooby-Doo and Shaggy on the most adventurous gig yet. Scooby-Doo and Shaggy travel to Arabia to become the Caliph's royal food tasters, but they bite off more than they can chew and are forced to run for their lives. It's a wild and magic carpet riders. And Shaggy, Scooby, their genie friend Yogi Bear, and a jolly sailor named Sinbad, played by Miguel Gorilla, take you on an adventure of mistaken identities, exotic locations, and fun-filled action and surprises. So in a nutshell, Shaggy and Scooby had to tell a lot of Arabian stories starring Yogi Bear and Miguel Gorilla. So what do I think about this movie? Well, as stated in my original review of this movie, I honestly thought this was an alright movie. I mean, sure, it's not a perfect movie. It may be completely stupid. And yeah, I know it doesn't involve solving mysteries or anything. But if I will be honest, and I probably said this in my original review, this is kind of like a guilty pleasure in my opinion. It is yeah, I do like the idea of Shaggy and Scooby doing their own Arabian Night style stories. The animation is decent enough, although it's giving me a pup named Scooby-Doo vibes. Casey Kasem and Don Messick still did a good job voicing Shaggy and Scooby-Doo, as well as Alan Melvin as the original voice of Miguel Gorilla, and Dawes Butler as the original voice of Yogi Bear. And Don Messick also voiced Boo Boo Bear in this movie. I think the stories that Shaggy and Scooby are telling are more like comical takes on Arabian stories. Ali and her magic lamp is sort of like a different version of the Disney movie Aladdin, as well as the Arabian story of the same name. And the one with Sinbad is sort of like a comical take on the original Sinbad story, but with Miguel Gorilla in the lead role. And I guess it sort of has some inspiration on the first three Indiana Jones movies. No idea if I said this before in my original review, but hey, better late than never, right? It is kind of funny seeing Shaggy and Scooby try to run away from the guards after they realized that they were supposed to make sure that the food wasn't poisonous and not eat it all for themselves. Even though they did become alright. And like I said, the stories is quite nice and relaxing. They're like the type of stories you listen to every night in bedtime. And I will point this out that even though Yogi Bear, Boo Boo, and Miguel Gorilla do make appearances in this movie, I'm guessing it doesn't technically count as a crossover with Scooby-Doo, which I know that you guys will point that out in the comments below. And I did make a community post about how it technically doesn't count as a crossover. I'm actually glad the makers of this movie decided to give Yogi Bear and Magilla Gorilla and Boo Boo some time to shine in this movie. And I think Shaggy and Scooby's screen time lasts for, I don't know, maybe 20 to 33-ish minutes or something. I don't know. You guys will have to correct me in the comments below if that's true. We don't get too many Scooby-Doo one-off movies like this one these days. Okay, so maybe you would technically count... I'm not sure if you would technically count Scoob or something. I honestly think Scooby-Doo Arabian Nights is so fun to enjoy if you're a fan of Arabian Nights and Hanna-Barbera. And can you imagine if we had other movies similar to Scooby-Doo and Arabian Nights at some point? And it is common for Scooby-Doo and Shaggy and sometimes their friends to travel to other countries around the world. Laugh Olympics is a prime example of what I mean, where we have all these different Hanna-Barbera characters compete against each other in certain places around the world. I do like the Ali Adi story in this movie, because it's like I said a few minutes ago, it is sort of like a Hanna-Barbera version of the Disney movie and the Arabian story of the same name. But instead you have Boo Boo and Yogi Bear as the genies to this Ali Adi character. Again, even when Yogi Bear is in this movie, he still has his personality down correctly. He kind of reminds me of Robin Williams' take on Genie from the Disney movie Aladdin. And as for the Simba story starring Magilla Gorilla, I'm not sure if this was intentional or not, but it sort of gives me Indiana Jones vibes, but it's more of a scavenger hunt. It seems like Magilla Gorilla is perfect as the role as Sinbad in this movie because, well, I don't know a lot about Sinbad in general, but I think he is sort of like a pirate, and he is very strong after all. And again, I could be wrong because, well, I don't know a lot of Arabian stories because I never grew up in Arabia, nor did I ever visited the place at all. But I might have had some distant ancestors who originated from Arabia or something. I don't know, I could be wrong about this. And if there was gonna be a third segment based on another Arabian story, just imagine if it included other Hanna-Barbera characters in it. Like maybe Huckleberry Hound or Top Cat or Hong Kong Phooey, for example. If there was gonna be a third Arabian story segment. Although maybe in another alternate reality / parallel timeline or in another dimension, something like that would exist. But hey, I could be wrong. And before I wrap up this review, I will admit, it is pretty cool that I found a VHS copy of Scooby-Doo Arabian Nights. Because I think this one is pretty rare and probably hard to find. Yeah, this is the first time I own the film on VHS. Because I already got a copy of this movie on DVD, which you can see right there. Between my DVD copies of The Matrix and Tom and Jerry Whiskers Away. Anyways, Scooby-Doo and Arabian Nights might not be perfect, but hey, I can still have a good time for just how goofy this movie is. And I'm glad you guys are checking out this revisit edition version of Scooby-Doo and Arabian Nights. Because it pretty much deserves a revisit edition slash second look. So I'll give this movie, 4.5 Arabian cities out of 5. Seems pretty fair enough when you think about it. And maybe someday Scooby-Topia might cover this movie at some point. If he's interested or something. So thank you guys so much for checking out this review of Scooby-Doo and Arabian Nights, the limited edition version. I could go for a Scooby snack in Arabia. Like, me too, Scoob, me too.